Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby, and I hope I give you a good show today because I'm a little run down. I'm feeling a little run down, and I wanted this cooler weather, and we have it. And I'm not going to blame the change in weather. I think it's me not eating properly, and whatever the hell it is that has me run down. But I'm feeling good because I see my guest's smiling face, and we always have a blast talking. And every week I do my spiel of how I know my guest because it's my opportunity to say to you, be curious, try new things, call friends, text friends, get together. I know it's easier, especially as the weather turns cool, to stay on the couch. And believe me, my ass is like Velcro there quite a bit myself. But get out there, go to an art event, go to a music concert, go to a film, go to a card exchange, a networker. And once you get past that initial, like, oh, I don't know, I'm nervous or I'm shy, whatever, and you talk to that first person, it's going to be good. And I always say this because through the years, I've lived in Scranton my whole life. So that is a little different. I know a lot of people leave, come back, or they leave and they don't come back, whatever, to each their own. But because I've been here, I do know a lot of folks. But I think it's great because when we keep people in mind and we keep these connections and relationships open, we can help them. It's like, oh, hey, have you talked to this person? Do you know what she does? I think it could help you, or vice versa. And we can help one another, support one another, attend our events, share them on Facebook, do our best to just be good humans, as I like to say. So this person, my guest, has been on a couple of times, and we met at the medical college. We both get poked and prodded as standardized patients at I won't try to do the whole name. It's Geisinger bought it out. It's basically the college, the medical college here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We met there. And Julie has so many talents. Honestly, she's never without her crocheting needles, which cracks me up. And I am jealous because I want to do it. She is a funny person. She does the Dunmore Departed Players and the Dunmore Cemetery Tour, which is always delightful, informative, funny, entertaining. And this summer, she was riding the rails. So I would like to welcome this week's guest, Julie Esty. Hello, Julie.
How's it going, Janine? Good morning.
Good morning. You're all over the place. I love I love your Facebook post because you never know what you're going to see. You got pictures of pumpkins, you're crocheting, God knows what, and you're all over, you're at concerts. You look like you're having fun. That's all I could
I
say.
am. I
Good.
am. I love it.
And what if you I mean, we'll get to the ride and the rails, but what was the most recent concert you went to see? I saw your post.
Last night I was at
Oh,
at
okay.
Montage. Usually it's sitting on the hill up at Bethel Woods, but Yes showed up at Montage, and we were able to get seats. I actually ended up in the fourth row last night
Get out of here. Wow.
on stage and didn't need a telescope, you know, because we have that major corporation with all their fees and charges and whatever that takes a $20 ticket and makes it $120 ticket. But last night was great. I ended up in row four for Deep Purple and Yes, and it was wonderful.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's cool. Yeah, you are definitely a lover of music and you're
Oh yeah.
always out there supporting it, and you can tell you're having fun, which is great. But this summer, we talked about this a little bit online when I ran into you. You got to do something pretty cool. You were on the rail. I guess you could say it was gosh, I don't know, locomotives, Steamtown
Yes.
locomotives, but
Yeah.
I don't know all the connections, but you were riding from Scranton up through the Mid Valley, up into Carbondale, all over. Tell me what that was about. Plus, you were in character. I think you were wearing
Yes.
some outfit that I don't know what exactly that was, but tell us about what you got to do
Yeah.
this summer.
The Heritage Valley Authority many years ago did a thing for school kids. And they put, I think it was like 20 years ago, they put how many hundreds or thousands of kids on the Steamtown trains and took them on an excursion. And then that stopped for whatever reasons, and they decided to bring it back this year. And I believe the Heritage Valley got a grant for it. So what they did was they ran almost 2,000 fourth graders from all over the valley, school districts all over the valley, from Steamtown up to Carbondale. And then their school buses would meet them in Carbondale and take them home. They had lunch on the trains. And what happened was they got me, Carl Barbie, and two other interpreters on the trains, and we would switch trains. We would do 15 minutes of talks each, and then we would switch. It was like a rotating cast, and I portrayed my great grandmother representing a coal miner's wife. So I talked to all these kids about my great grandmother, and basically how hard it was for mining families here. And then after that was over, we ended up with a train that went up to Carbondale for Pioneer Day, and Oliphant ran two of them for their third Thursday, I believe it is. So people would be able to get on the trains, get, the stories. Me and Carl would be on telling them stories or whatever. And then they'd get off in Oliphant or Carbondale, go shopping, get back on the train, and come back. And those trips are absolutely magical, especially the one for Pioneer Nights, because by the time people got back on the train, it was starting to get dark. So now they're riding back through the valley on this beautiful old train and the sun setting. So it was just a really, really good experience. Like, I mean, Steamtown is a wonderful thing that we have here. And I don't know, it seemed like all the people that I ended up talking to, like aside from the school students, were people that were from New Jersey or further away. I didn't really talk to that many people from this area. And
Hmm.
we have, I mean, how it rolls. Like you don't always do things in your own area when really we have great stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, well, first thing I want to say, 2000 fourth graders, that's my biggest nightmare. Um,
I thought it was going to be mine too, especially when they told me that they were going to eat their lunch before the train started moving. I thought, oh, this is not going to go okay because you're going to feed kids and they're going to get motion sickness. And what happens when they all have to go to the bathrooms? And there are facilities on the train, but the kids were great. They were really great. Nobody got sick. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. Like it was, I was really afraid of them too. And I'm a mom. There was one teacher, she was absolutely great. Like the one bunch of kids did start to mess around, and the one teacher stands up and she goes, I will turn this train around. And it was just like when she said it, because every mom has said that in the car, I will turn this car around. So when she said that, it was just like, and that was it. I mean, everybody was really, really great. Even on the excursions, the adults, even on the excursions to Oliphant and Carbondale.
yeah.
Just a nice thing.
Were they so the kids and the adults, were they interested in the stories? Like did they seem like they were genuinely interested in hearing about the history?
I would have to say so. Now, I never heard Carl's talk or the woman who was the mill lady, but I know that with my talk, I had a lot of engagement because not only did I talk about my grandmother and grandfather and how their life went and how hard it was, I had toys that my kids would have used from that time period. So now I've got fourth graders that are using these toys that they would never want to bother with today. And I had photographs, to show them, this is me when I came here to this country. I was 20 some years old. This is my husband. Like Julia and Alex, my great grandfather had a mustache that was incredible. So like all these kids are seeing this gentleman with this incredibly beautiful mustache, and like I said, like after he stopped working in the mines, pretty much that's all he did was mess around and take care of that mustache. But they didn't. We have such a wonderful heritage here, and these kids need to realize that, like, yeah, you're getting on a train or whatever, and some of them are like, oh, I don't really want to do this until they get on. Now they did it, but you've got to realize that 100 and some years ago, you wouldn't have been on this train. You would have been working in the mines or mills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys are really, really lucky that you're in school now. Well, first of all, you're lucky that you survived this long, because back then child mortality wasn't the greatest. The fact that you're in school and not working underground, you need to be celebrating and doing really well in school and enjoying every day there. So it was just an amazing experience. The only thing that I found to be bad about it, because I am motion challenged, I'm like an incredible klutz, is that you do have to switch train cars while that train is in motion. And even though it's only going 15 miles an hour, you've got to switch from one car to the other. And it's like, I'm trying to step and I'm trying. So Carl would help me across. And then God bless the Heritage Valley and Steamtown. They, for the majority of the trips, because I think we did 10 trips in the month of May, they
Wow.
got me an escort so that every time I had to switch cars, they had somebody there to help me over. I mean, what great outfits they are to deal with.
That's great to hear. That's why honestly wonderful all around. And when you were
Yeah.
telling me about it, I was like, this is very cool. Like even I think it's great for the kids, like for the reasons you just mentioned, because it's like, you
Yep.
know, you could sit in a classroom. Are they going to teach our local history? Probably not. But even if they did, it may not be
It's
as
not
interesting. Here they're
right.
on a train. It's moving. It's engaging. They're seeing you guys dressed in costume, sharing these stories. I think that's so much more effective, and I hope they do more of that. I think that's awesome. I really do.
They got a grant to do it again next year. So I will be back on the train again, and I can't wait. I can't wait. But I think somehow it's also in conjunction, and I could be wrong about this, but I think it's also done in conjunction with a national park program called Every Kid in the Park. They want to put these kids in national parks. And, it's not easy to take a family places anymore because of how expensive have gotten. You got a family of four kids, that's tough. So, this way we really did. They got a lot of kids on something that maybe they might not have been able to afford otherwise. It's just like me with the cemetery. Like I do a free tour. Those kids are exposed to music, history, culture. It's an open air museum. These children might not be able to attend another theatrical, or adults for that matter, might not be able to attend a production just because our electric bills have gotten so much.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
electric bill, groceries, everything like that. Like we have so many other things. So there's great stuff being offered here.
Yeah. And to that point, and we'll talk about the cemetery tour coming up, but there are actually quite a few community things offered here locally, if free
Yeah.
things. I mean, all summer long, and I'll admit it's like it's funny how the summer, like you blink and it's over because there's all these things. Oh, I wanted to get to that. Naog free music concert.
Yep.
Even in West Scranton, they started one in a little park over there this summer where they were doing it. I forget how often, but free music. And there's a lot of those types of things that take place where you can go and enjoy something different and unique for free. And it's like sometimes you wonder, like you might go out and you might see it's well attended or it's not well attended. And we talked about this before I hit the record button. Like, why is it that maybe folks are not enjoying what's in their own backyard a lot of the times? We don't know.
Another thing, one thing people might not realize too is that some of the folks that are out there doing these things, like your concerts in the park, like me in the cemetery, we are funded to some degree by Lackawanna County Arts and Culture. We get grants to help us. It's only a tiny amount that you pay in your taxes that goes toward this. And really, when I tell you it's minuscule, but the bottom line is it is still something that you are contributing to. So go out and use it. Come and see me. Go and see the other artists that have been given grants to do wonderful things in this area. Because even though it's only a few pennies a year, you're still paying for it. And
Yeah.
it's supporting local artists. And you're one of them.
Yep.
There's just so much talent here.
Yeah. I mean, you and I are like, we're speaking to the choir here because and I like to keep it positive, but I'll tell you, I'm feeling run down because of a cold, and I think because I donated blood last week. But I'm also feeling I get a lot of fatigue from like trying to get people's attention because there's so much noise out there, and it boggles my mind how you can look on Facebook and the most recent stupid meme, which is generated by a computer, has always got misspelled words. It's just nonsense. God knows what the source is. People will share that same stupid thing, whether it's political or about pumpkin spice season how many freaking times, but you'll post about your cemetery tour. I'll post about my most recent interview with my podcast. Last week, I had a director from her LA office, 6 listens and maybe 1 share. What
Yeah.
and I, you know what, I'll admit that I do get angry about this, and I'm not going to apologize for getting pissed off because I don't know what it's going to take for a mindset for people to realize, like, we're out there doing this shit. Could you help a little bit? And it's not like we're saying, please help us, and there's nothing in return. We're giving you stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you're giving your talented folks and actors when you do a show. With my interviews or my conversations on my podcast, I want you to get to know these people because they have interesting stories to share. So I do get frustrated. And the same goes for here in Scranton. I'm a big fan. I mean, yes, we have problems. Of course we do. We have a shit ton of
Everywhere
them.
does.
You know,
Everywhere has
yeah,
problems.
the road's a mess. I get it. There's all kinds of problems, but let's embrace. And, I get so mad when I see on Facebook all of the horrible comments or the laugh emojis when there's something positive posted,
Yeah.
because it's like, I have a feeling those folks are not doing what we're doing, Julie.
Yeah.
They're the ones
No.
sitting in their freaking
No.
armchair who are
And they
just
have to
bitching.
realize too is that from all this negativity, it's created us. We're the reason that there's stuff going on here because like we saw it or we were in it. Do you get what I'm saying? And we tried to get out of it and make it better and do something. And we're successful at it. So join us, share our events, join us, come to them because you're going to meet more successful people and you'll just be a generally happier person. I think that's part of the reason my cemetery tour has been so successful because we're constantly telling them, you live in a good area. It's beautiful here. Isn't it nice? Look at these leaves. Like, we're so happy you're here. You've got to point out that you guys are really living in a good place. It's gorgeous here. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have our problems, but everywhere does.
Exactly. Yeah. And I always like to say everywhere is home to somebody. So when people
Yeah.
trash, but I mean, I remember years ago I posted about some business I had in Hazleton. And of course, this friend that I went to high school with, who I had to unfriend because I was like, your deep negativity shit is just too much. Comments about how it's a horrible place. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sure there are people there that live in Hazleton
Love
that
it.
find the beauty because there's art there too. There's the mountains. There's, every place is home to someone and there is beauty here. And on that note, I want to bring up a conversation I had on my podcast just about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Melise Brunet, who is a Paris native, who is our conductor here at Northeast Philharmonic, who was featured in the film, the documentary Maestra. She had nothing but she is thrilled. She became a U.S. citizen in February. And talk about perspective, and we won't go off on where the country is right now with all the hate and bullshit, but she is so hopeful. And she had nothing but good things to say about how kind people were. And she arrived in Cleveland, Ohio in the winter. And she said, people are like, how could you be in love with this country? Or how could you? She loves it. She has been shown kindness. She is hopeful. She gets to do her passion, which is to share music with people. And it's like, I think we all need to hear that kind of stuff from time to
Yeah.
time and go, really, let's take a moment and let's enjoy what we can achieve in a positive light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So let's talk about, so you were riding the trains. And so now that's probably going to be on a break for a little bit, right? You don't,
A
do you have
little
anything?
bit.
Okay.
A little
A
bit.
little bit. And we look forward to next season, maybe when you've got more little ones that you'll be and adults too.
Wait, can't wait.
I'm sorry I missed the third Thursday one. I'm gonna like watch for that because I think that's a really cool idea. Like, you don't have to drive, you hop on the train, you get to go and just do a little bit of shopping and maybe grab dinner or a bite to eat or something. I think that's a cool little
Till
event. I
we
like
get
that.
back on.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, have a few cocktails and
Yeah.
it'll be a
Well,
fun
I do
time.
believe that there are, if you watch for them, now I don't know that they run out of Steamtown or where they run, but if I see any, there are wine excursions.
Yes, I think I found the one. I did a little Google search because it's you have to find the right organization that has the listing. I want to say September. I could be wrong, or maybe even October, going up to Moscow, where
Mhm.
they're having like a couple wine tastings. And for me, I thought about it. And again, there is a little bit of a cost. So for me, I'm like, okay, it doesn't fit my budget to go for a train ride and try some wines.
Right.
I don't know, but it is a cool idea and I do like it. I think it's a very fun, like Saturday, Sunday afternoon kind of thing. I mean, hell, you're on a train ride, you get to enjoy the beautiful scenery and have some wine. I love it. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
I felt like I was on the Hogwarts Express all summer, for the whole month of May. It was great. In fact, kids ask me because, of course, my persona is deceased. So they wanted to know that if I was, gone, how did I end up on that train? And I'm not going to say, well, I'm a ghost or whatever. I just said, it's kind of like when they stepped on the Hogwarts Express, the National Park Service is magical, and magical things happen when you get on a train, and that kind of covered it. But it really, really is a magical experience. Like I can't even, the one night after I did the one that I came back in the dark, I called Megan. And I just thought that my heart was going to bust. That's how much joy I had from something that has been in this area for so many, 30 years now?
Mm-hmm.
And like nobody goes and no, from this area. And it's just like, oh my God, it was just such a wonderful feeling. It was just, like I said, it was magical.
That's so nice to hear. And I hope that people, the more you guys get out there and tell them about it, I hope people try it more and realize that it's really cool that we do have this right in our own
Yeah.
backyard and that they get to appreciate it too. I mean,
And they
uh,
don't have to be trained nerds either.
no, no.
But I mean that in the best sense by using the word nerd, because I'm a nerd. You don't have to be, know where they were made, what kind of wheels they have, or whatever. It's just nice to sit on that train and feel. I kept hearing Arlo all the while singing City of New Orleans. And it really is a very comforting, relaxing feeling riding on that train. So if you need to decompress, get yourself on a ride, look out the window and enjoy the beautiful, as Manny Gordon used to say, enjoy, enjoy.
The great outdoors. Was
Yep.
it Northeastern and
Of
Central
North,
Pennsylvania?
enjoy the great outdoors of Northeastern Pennsylvania.
I did in April. I took the one from Pittston to Jim Thorpe. A similar idea though. Like that's a cool way to go to
Yes.
Jim Thorpe. And I
Yes.
mean, it was a nice smooth ride. It was fine, and you get to look out the window and see things you wouldn't see necessarily
Mhm.
otherwise if you were driving or whatever. And you get to relax. You don't have to drive down there and worry about parking or whatever. So that was a cool experience. So hopefully we'll see a lot more
Yeah.
uses here in Scranton too, because I think that's awesome. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. They
Uh,
really need to expand on it and put
oh
me
my
on every
gosh.
train.
I was going to say the possibilities, really, the way you could use that could be so much fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
so much fun. Saturday, I just went for a little walk. I parked at the Iron Furnaces and I walked over to the Southside Farmers Market. And I'm thinking, I was there and it's like, I'll admit I'm ignorant to even some of our history, but even that, like how important this region was in steel making and iron and so many things in the industrial era that like people need to like, I know the office has kind of brought attention in a good way.
Yeah.
And I like to joke like, yeah, I'm an OG Scranton. I realized the value before that. And we need to be proud of the heritage and hopefully people will be a little curious and learn a little bit more about it. And what you're doing on those trains is one perfect way to do that.
Another thing people really need to be mindful of, and I don't know how this is going to go over. Granted, we were started after the fact, but it doesn't mean that there weren't people who had parents that were in this. 2026 is a milestone year for this country. We're going to be celebrating a semi-quincentennial. Is that what it is? And if anyone was around for the bicentennial, which I was, it was just great. The bicentennial was great. So we're going to be celebrating 250 years. And there's going to be events probably for that here. And I don't know that everybody will get behind it and that there will be the excitement that there was, because we've changed a great deal as a nation on a lot of levels
Yes.
in
Yes.
50 years.
Yeah.
But it would be really nice. I mean, it was great every night after the news, like you got your bicentennial minute, and it would be really something if if the city, if we could all come together on one common fun event that celebrates all of us that are here now and everybody. So everybody needs to keep that in mind too. We've got 250 years coming up in 2026.
Yeah.
The events, support them.
Yeah. Hopefully we can put certain nonsense aside, like I think
Yeah.
the definition of what's pro-American or what's patriotic has changed by some folks. But yeah,
Right.
it doesn't all look the same for everybody. You don't need to have like a giant flag hanging off the back of your truck or wear it as a Speedo and whatever. In fact, it's probably not the best way to show your patriotism. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you, Julie.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will bring us together.
Yeah.
So let's transition and talk about, and we've talked about this before. You've been a guest on the Dunmore Cemetery Tour is something that Julie has been leading for a long time, and I'll let her address that. But this year, I do want to point out that the dates are a little different than usual. The end of September, right, is the first weekend?
September 29th and October 6th.
And October 6th. And for folks who, if you're within driving distance or you happen to be visiting or you live here, it's great to go check it out. Dunmore Cemetery Tour. It is free and you walk through, and it's just, think of it this way: you get fresh air, you get a little exercise, you get some history, you get some entertainment. It's a wonderful event. And every year you change. Basically, people go through, they hear stories from the past, but they change. You keep it fresh. So remind me again how long it's been going on, and then tell us a little sneak peek of what we can look forward to this season.
I started doing tours out there in some form in 1997. And I was joined by a cast 5 years later. So what's that, 2002?
Yeah.
So we are in what, our 22nd year? Did I do the math right? I'm a math
Yes.
failure. We are in 22 years of being out there as a group. And that tour changes every year. It's a free tour. It's a 2-hour walking tour. And as usual, we have our serious moments, but boy, do we have a lot of laughs this year. We've got some laughs. We've got some really interesting things that came along, because sometimes stuff just kind of happens out there that will generate a talk. And we've got some really interesting stuff going on. I mean, one of them, I think I told you, I was at an estate sale and I saw this notebook and I looked inside and there were meeting minutes from 1939. It's like, I don't want this. Like, I just don't want this. So I put it down. And the next day I went back to the estate sale because I wanted to get a hat that they had. And it was in that room with that notebook. And I did not buy the notebook, but it came home with me. I don't know how. I don't know how the notebook came home with me, but I had it. So it's like, okay, well, now you've got this notebook from all these meeting minutes over an 18-month time span. And you've got a list of 50 members, women who were members of this group that was meeting downtown in the Hotel German. So I started reading the meeting minutes to see what's going on. And they were talking about some things that in 1939 would be considered a bit progressive. Almost like, the whole spiritual chakra kind of deal, which I think for 1939 with a bunch of women, that was a little progressive. But the more I looked at this, I realized that these 50 women were being scammed by a woman who was professing all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And she wasn't the light bearer, and she wasn't, the all-seeing whatever she was. She was collecting dues off of them. And when she started instituting, things that said, when they came to a meeting they couldn't speak, that they had to sit in silence, and you shut down the publicity committee, those are really big red flags that something's going on. I mean, why would you go to a meeting where none of us are going to talk? And you definitely couldn't speak against her.
Mm.
So she was, and then I see, like, she wants X number of dollars to continue her ministry. So I started following her around the country. And she was, in fact, a charlatan. And the thing is that she hooks up with this Swami. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go with the Swami. He actually was real.
Huh.
And he founded an ashram in India or whatever that's still in existence today and doing good works. But this woman was snowing all these other women, and some of these women that were meeting down the Hotel German were Gold Star mothers. They had lost sons in World War One. And they were probably looking for some kind of peace or comfort or something. So I'm looking at this and it's like, you're a scumbag.
Mm.
You're preying on these women. And of course I found one out in the cemetery.
Oh
So
my gosh.
she's gonna, I did not give out her real name because sometimes we get affiliated with groups or organizations or things that just sometimes aren't the best, and you think that they are, you think it's okay. And she talks about this. The interesting thing is that I did purchase the jewelry from the woman who kept the notes for this.
Wow.
And Wendy is portraying this woman, and Wendy is going out and she is going to be wearing the jewelry from the woman who kept the notes for this. In fact, I think the woman who kept the notes for it went on to work for the United Nations.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
it's quite an interesting little deal that we have going out there. Then from Steamtown, we did get one of their interpreters, the rangers, and he's going out there as the taxidermist that studied under Everhart, that stuffed a lot of the animals
Oh
at
wow.
at the Everhart, and he ended up passing away from arsenic poisoning because they were using arsenic. And we have Dave out there this year. He's new to the cast and he's wonderful. And I don't know if you've ever seen them. I call them weasels. They're those foxes that women used to wear around their neck. Well, I had a million of them in the attic. It was like a weasel sanctuary up there because people would give them to me, and like you'd have to be afraid to put them on cast members because they're fur or whatever, and you don't want to offend people. So like now all of these weasels that had sat, and they're not weasels, they're foxes or whatever, that sat in the attic for years and years have become this amazing prop.
Oh my gosh.
And he's out there with weasels, tail sticking out of his pocket, and he's got them on his arm, and he's talking about how he wraps them. And it's actually really funny, but he's telling the truth as to what this guy did. And the scene is a scream. It's just, it's so funny. It's
I
so
saw
funny.
your Facebook photos and now that makes sense because I was like, okay, what the hell are those things? What is she
What are the
using those
weasels?
for?
The
I can't wait to
weasels.
see it. And
Yep.
anyone who doesn't know, that's just another great thing to go see. And the price to get in is cheap. I think $10. The Everhart Museum.
Yes.
We're talking. Julie's mentioning the stuffed. When you go in on the first floor and you go into your, if you're facing in and you go to your left, oh my gosh. Now, granted, years ago, I probably wouldn't have had interest in this. And as a kid, I honestly don't know that I did. But now, because I'm a bird watcher and I love birds, there is every bird imaginable
Yes.
in there. I mean, there are some other small animals, but what a ton of different birds. And of course, I loved finding the laughing gull. So that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. But
They
yeah,
they've been there forever. They're a part of our childhood.
yes.
And this gentleman is going to go out there, and he has taken this amazingly informational talk and turned it into something that's fun. And then we have the beautiful Elle out there. Elle, Laura
Mm-hmm.
Doyle. She's a chiropractor from the past who in some ways she reminds me of you because she's talking about standing up straight and breathing. And she talked, this woman was very much ahead of her time in her field of chiropractic work and just spinal alignment and all of this like really good stuff. So Ella's out there talking about this amazing woman who did this, who basically did it on her own because I'm sorry to say she married a gentleman who was garbage.
Mm.
So she had to raise her son on her own. And we have Maggie Roach out there. And at the end, she's a woman who crocheted, and she lived to be 107 years old. And she talks about how you have to have these hobbies and stuff like that. And of course, me with the crochet, and I have massive amounts of it in the attic. So I've loaded Maggie up, and Maggie is going to have so much crochet work to give away on this end, flowers and like whatever. So it's just like we've managed to take and make some really fun moments. And many years ago, I don't know if I ever told you, 20 some years ago, I figured out that there was a secret message on the hill out there left for the Masons.
Yeah.
And when I figured it out, I called them and they sent their guy out there. And, like they're not telling me anything because, like I'm just a crazy lady, but all of a sudden I get the phone call and it's like, who told you this? And I said, well, I guess I was right. And it's like, Yeah, you were. So that gentleman, who was absolutely wonderful, went on after that. For that tour, Masons turned out in droves in their tuxedos. My information went to like their highest thing, so that people would know that this was out there. And while the gentleman who went out and investigated was alive, he would go to different Masonic lodges and investigate. And not investigate, he would lecture on it. Well, I learned that he died pretty much in the first wave of COVID. And I thought, well, since he's not here anymore, I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk about it one last time and let people know that this message is out there. Because the bottom line is, I'm 63 years old. I don't know how much longer, I'm going to be here. So I'm going to take my shot. My guys are going to go out there. Carl, Dave, and Roger, they're going to go out there and they are going to do their level best to explain this hidden message that is out there on the hill. And it's really beautiful. It's got a beautiful message to it. So
Hmm.
we've got stuff going on.
And I should mention, I forgot to say it at the beginning. So the folks, the actors you work with are the dearly departed players, right? Is that the
Yes.
correct name? Okay. So
Yes.
if you do go on Facebook, it's dearly departed players.
Yeah.
Fantastic men and women, and Julie, who all do the portrayal of these amazing characters. And as we talked last time, I would love, like I always joke, I'd love to get in Julie's closet because and her attic, because she has so much cool stuff.
Everything. There's everything up there.
Julie knows how to find cool stuff too. She loves the Salvation Army, right? You're always
Oh my God.
there.
I get the best stuff up there. I could be everything up there, from Space Aliens, the Morton Salt Girl, Georgie from It, to, well, right now, there's another really cool event coming up that people should probably look at, with the wonderful Luz Cabrales that I think you've spoken to Luz from
Yes. Yeah.
films. There's a horror film coming up that she worked on extensively. And so I'm in it, some of my players are in it. They're having a red carpet premiere of that at the Ritz. So of course I have the old Hollywood dress up there to go to the red carpet premiere. So like the attic is just, it's the attic is magical. Like it's like I just never know. I've got everything. Like I've got everything from the Morton Salt to Mrs. Claus up there, and all these historical costumes. I costume a small town. I do costume a small town on tour day.
You do.
Great
You
costumes. That's another thing. You never know. My mother was not a big fan of Halloween or costumes, and I was always into it. You just don't know what putting a costume in the hands of a kid is going to do for their creativity. You get these people that are down on Halloween or whatever, but you don't know. Putting that costume on allows that child to maybe there's something in there that on a normal day they're afraid to come out with. But you give them this costume, and now an extension of themselves can come out, and it might change their whole life, because look at what it did for me
yeah.
and
Create
Megan.
Yeah, creativity is power. No, as you were talking about what's in your attic, it made me start to feel a little sad and nostalgic, because I'm sure there are some people, but imagine how many kids now just they rely so much on playing games on, whether it's Minecraft or Roblox or whatever the hell, with people they don't even know, maybe across the state, or their friends down the road, but they're on
Yeah,
their phones. And it's like, imagine, like you just said, the possibilities of putting on clothes, like, a fedora hat, and, picking up a prop and pretending to be someone else, and the
yeah.
beauty and the freedom and the creativity and magic in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I need that. Actually, adults need that. Of course, I don't know. Maybe I need to explore some certain clubs for a variety of reasons
Well, I can put
to
you in
get
a
wild.
costume and put you in the cemetery, and it won't be a problem. We
I
can give you that experience, Janine.
I think you know what? I think I'm getting cranky with my perimenopause, and I think I need to tap into something where I can be someone else for a
Well, I
while.
can I can make that happen for you.
Even if it's just for like an hour, and just be someone else. Cause I think
Yeah,
I do believe there's, well, creativity, obviously, we both know the beauty and the power of that and what you can do with that. But just there's something like playing dress up, whether it's for kids or adults. You're setting yourself aside. And
Yeah.
yes, I don't care how happy a person you are, we all have stress and different things. To put them aside for a little while and be someone else and explore what it's like to be someone else. And like what you're doing with your players, they're going back in time too, so that's so cool. They get to the language or the experience how it was then and just live it for a while and show folks what it was like back
Yeah.
then.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. As
And like I said,
always,
I can make it happen for you, Janine.
I might have to explore that. I really should. That's why I used to love when I worked at Blue Cross, and I worked there in 1999 to 2010. And I tried to keep it going for a few years after, but it wasn't the same. I used to do an annual Halloween party. And I used to love that. I mean, dressing up the house with all kinds of stuff and my costumes. Now, they weren't all winners. Some were just, at the last minute thrown in, but I used to have so
Yeah.
much fun. The one year I was a dead disco diva and I had the blood and I have aluminum foil in my wig and I carried a little disco ball that was bloody with hair like on it. I used to have so much fun. And my friend Kristen, I always like to give her shout outs because she doesn't listen. She only listens to true crime podcasts. She used to tease me every year and say, "Don't you want to be something pretty?" And I'm like, "Why? I could do that
Why?
every day of the year. I want to look like psychotic. I want to be a nightmare. I want to be something that like I wouldn't go to Walmart. Well, maybe Walmart, but I wouldn't go to Target or other shopping places with a dead disco diva look on. But like it was so much fun. I really do miss that actually. Yeah.
Well, it's coming up again. You can do that.
Yeah. And I do want to follow up on what you just said. So, folks in the area, I am going to come to that. I can't wait to see it. October 1st, I believe it is, right? The premiere of that film.
Yes, it's down at the Ritz, which the I just went to see. Were you there for Stand By Me?
I was with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm so confused at this point. Yeah, I mean they're doing a great job down there, and that's where the premiere is going to be. And I mean, there's a lot of folks in it, but I know that I mean Carl Barbie has a huge part in it.
Really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Carl has a big part in it. I actually ended up with a credited role in it as the first woman journalist photographer. They managed to reproduce, I had to reproduce her, and I do a scene where I'm photographing these people, and I'm not really sure if they're dead, alive, what their story is. Like I didn't ask, I just went out and did it. And then a number of players are on a trolley scene where we didn't say anything, but we had to look, visibly upset, or like we were trying to avoid seeing something happen. So, what exactly was happening there, I don't know. So, if you go to this, you are going to see people from around the area. And of course, Liz Cabrales does a great job with everything she touches.
Yeah.
So people should check on that with Scranton Films. And I believe it's called Shadows of the Past.
Okay. Yeah.
They
And
can
it's
find it.
considered a horror movie, right? A
Yeah,
little horror. And it's
yeah.
probably, is it a short or is it a, I'm not sure how long it is, but
I don't know. I'd have to say it's probably over an hour.
oh, it is. Okay. So it's not like because I know sometimes
Oh no, it's not
it's
like
not
a
a
20
short.
minute
Oh,
deal. This
okay.
is, I believe they filmed down in Wilkes-Barre at the Stegmeyer. They filmed at Brooks Mine. They filmed at the Trolley Museum, I think. They filmed on the trolley. So I believe that this is, it's a decent length. And like I said, everything that she does is amazing. Luz Cabrales does a quality job.
Yeah. And I had Luz on, I want to say last year, or might have been a little over a year ago.
Yeah,
Luz does a lot of documentaries, but she does do other films, obviously. And she did a documentary on Julie, too. What was the name of
yeah,
yours? It
yeah.
was,
It's Julie and the Dearly Departed Players, and it
that's right.
it addressed us in the cemetery managing to pull it off through COVID.
Yes.
That ended up being seen all over the world and winning awards in different parts of the world. Like you wouldn't think people. So she is just a real asset. Another power woman in this area.
Yes.
She's good for
Absolutely.
the community. She's good to people. She's good for the community. So people should get behind Luz and go on down and see this movie that she's got going on down there at the Reds. Plus, she'll
Yeah.
have fun. She's gonna have the red carpet stuff, and you get your picture taken. It's just like fun. When are we
Yeah.
ever going to get to experience that?
No, I think it's great. I do. And I know Danielle, I'm friendly with Danielle Dunbar, and I know her children, her girls, I believe, are in it. I don't know if it's Tierney, I forget her second daughter's name, but they've been doing a lot of acting. And I think at least
Yeah.
one of them is in this movie, one or two of them. So I'm excited to go see it. So folks in Northeast PA, check it out. Scrantonfilms.com. You could probably find out details there.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, October 1st, premiere at the Ritz, which my gosh, if you like horror films, that's a reason right there, but also to come out to the Ritz because that's a beautiful old building. That's a wonderful piece of our history here in Scranton. So it should be a really fun event. That's very cool. Yeah. All right, Julie. Well, as usual, you're always a delight to talk to. You never know where we're going to go with our conversation, but you are one of those fantastic women that are really bringing history to life here in the area and just colorful. And I'm just glad to know you. And I hope people go out to the cemetery tour, Dunmore Cemetery Tour, September 30th, right?
No, 29th.
29th. I'm sorry, September.
Sunday the 29th and
Okay.
Sunday, October 6th.
Okay, Sunday the 29th and Sunday the October 6th. And of course I'll put the dates and the link in the show notes here.
Yeah,
But
they
it's
can find us on Facebook at the Dunmore Cemetery Tour.
okay. And it's always fun. Like Julie said, it's 2-hour walking tour. It's honestly that cemetery. I mean, a lot of people walk or run in there, and I mean, it is very cool just to even go through there. I know one day I kind of explored and I was in the back section that I did not even know existed, and there's some really old and very like beautiful like stonework on the
Yeah.
old. I was like, "Oh my God, where am I?" It was like a whole different world. It was kind of neat actually. Yeah. Very cool. All right, Julie, as always, a pleasure. Folks, be sure to check out the show notes. Follow and check out on Facebook the Dearly Departed Players and the Dunmore Cemetery Tour. And please check out the region. If you're listening and you're not in Northeast PA, check out wherever you live. I'm sure there's arts to support, music to support, performers to support. I mean, I'm not saying anything against the big performers in the world, but they have a lot of money and they're doing all right. So maybe turn a little attention to the smaller folks. We could definitely use your attention. And hey, we've got some good talent to offer. So check out local artists, support them. It really does mean a lot to us, truly. As the weeks come up, I have some guests coming up and talking about the arts. I'm going to have Lisa Murphy, I believe that's her name. She is a graduate student who did this project studying murals. We have a lot of murals popping up in Northeast PA, and I think they're gorgeous. They're great. So she's doing research work on that. I hope to have her in October because then she will be displaying what came out of her work at the AFA on October 19th. I actually took part in that. I was a research participant. So I took a photo of something that I considered to be representative of the area, the Laceworks, and I took a photo of the Scranton Times mural because for me, as someone whose father worked at the Times for over 40 years, it was my first job as a newspaper carrier. Then I went on to work as editor of one of their newspapers. And the fact that that's changed so much, sadly, the Times has been sold from the Lynott family, but that meant a lot to me. So that was the mural that I photographed. But basically, Lisa's going to share what came out of her research. And I can't wait to hear it. And I'm excited for people to learn more about that. And of course, we'll have Emily on again talking about budgeting through life. She is the podcast sponsor, and we love to have conversations about that. God knows I need reminders about how to budget through my life. And yeah, so if you're interested in supporting this kind of content, please reach out to me if you'd like to be a podcast sponsor. It is cheaper than you think. It probably doesn't even cost as much as your coffee drinks a week. I guarantee you. And even if you don't have the dollars to support this podcast, you know how else you can support? Share on social media, share with a friend, foe, or anyone you know, write a review or testimonial. Or the next time you see me, tell me you listen, because God knows it's nice to hear that I'm not just talking to myself. So, as I always say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.